All right, so you've been asking for it, and we're delivering. Today's deep dive, the Lincoln MY Guarantee Plus Fixed Annuity. Buckle up, because we're going deep on this one, folks.
Sounds like a plan.
This annuity, it seems like everybody's got questions about it. It can be a bit of a head scratcher, right? So let's just break it down. Let's see what makes this thing tick and, how it could maybe potentially fit into your retirement plan.
Absolutely. And when it comes to retirement planning, fixed annuities, they really can be a powerful tool in the right hands.
Okay, cool. So like right off the bat, one of the big things that stands out about this specific annuity, this MY Guarantee Plus, is that phrase, guaranteed fixed interest rate. That's got to be music to a lot of people's ears, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking for that sense of security or predictability as you head into retirement.
Yeah, for sure.
What was the actual reality of this guarantee? Like, how does it work?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Basically, with the MY Guarantee Plus, you're locking in a specific interest rate for a certain period of time. Usually this is several years, okay? And this means your money is going to be growing at a nice, steady, predictable pace. And here's the kicker. It's completely independent of what's happening in the stock market.
So it's kind of like a souped-up savings account. Like, like that money's safe and sound. It's just going to keep growing no matter what crazy stuff is happening out there in the market.
Yeah, exactly. And I should add, the rates right now for the MY Guarantee Plus, they're actually very competitive, especially when you look at how volatile things have been in the market recently.
Right.
So, for example, if you were to go with, say, a 5-year term, you could lock in a rate of, I don't know, let's say 4%. And that's guaranteed. Now, compare that with the uncertainty of, stocks or even bonds. You're essentially sidestepping all that market risk for that initial 5-year period.
Okay, so that peace of mind factor, that's got to be huge for folks who, especially if they get closer to retirement, right? They're like, I just want stability. I don't want any surprises.
Exactly.
But, we know how it is with financial products. There's often like a trade-off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what about accessing that money? I mean, are there any restrictions or like penalties if you need to withdraw some of that cash before that term, that 5-year term, whatever term you've chosen, before that ends?
That's a really good question. And yeah, it is something to consider because while the MY Guarantee Plus does offer that guaranteed growth, you do have these potential surrender charges if you take out like a big chunk of money before the agreed upon term is up.
I see.
These charges, they usually work on a kind of like a tiered system. They decrease over time. So it really is important to think about your liquidity needs, like how accessible do you need that money to be, and make sure this kind of product, it really does fit into your overall financial plan.
Right. It's got to be the right tool for the job.
Right. Exactly.
And that's something you got to figure out with a financial advisor or somebody who knows your specific situation.
Okay, so we got to talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to long-term savings, right? And that's taxes. We can't ignore them.
Right.
And this annuity, it's marketed as tax-deferred. So break it down for us. What's it actually mean? What's the bottom line for the average person?
Sure. Tax deferral, it's actually one of the biggest benefits of these annuities, like the MY Guarantee Plus. Basically what it means is you don't have to pay taxes on the interest that your money's earning until you start withdrawing it. And it really lets your savings compound more efficiently over time.
Okay, so that sounds good in theory, but can you give us a real world example? Paint a picture for us. What's the difference look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say you invest, I don't know, $100,000 and you split it. Half goes into a taxable investment that's earning, say, 5% annually. The other half goes into the MY Guarantee Plus with a similar return. So in that taxable account, you're going to be paying taxes on those earnings every single year. So let's just assume, for this example, you're in a 25% tax bracket. That means you're losing a chunk of your gains right off the top every year to taxes. But in the annuity, that entire 5%, it gets reinvested. So it's just generating more and more returns year after year after year. And over, let's say a 10-year period, the difference in that final balance, it can be huge. I mean, we're talking potentially thousands of dollars.
Wow, okay. So that tax deferral, it's not just some fancy term. It actually makes a real difference.
Oh, yeah, big time.
All right, so we've seen how this annuity helps your savings grow, and it does it tax efficiently. But eventually, you're going to want to actually use that money, right? And that's where the flexibility of this annuity really comes into play, doesn't it?
It does. With the MYGuarantee Plus, you've got options. You can choose how you want to receive that money. So one option is systematic withdrawals. These are just regular payments, kind of like a paycheck.
Oh, okay.
And this can be really good for someone who wants that predictable income in retirement, something they can budget around, know what to expect.
Yeah, like if you're used to a steady paycheck, this kind of keeps that going.
Exactly. But then you also have the option for a guaranteed lifetime income stream. And this is huge because it basically ensures you're not going to outlive your savings, no matter how long you live.
Wow.
And you even get to choose how often you get those payments, monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever works for you.
So when you're looking at these payout options, like what are the kind of things someone should be thinking about when they're trying to choose between, say, that guaranteed lifetime income versus those systematic withdrawals? What are the trade-offs there?
That's a great question. And that's really where, working with a financial professional is so key because they can help you weigh those options. With a guaranteed lifetime income, you get that incredible peace of mind, knowing, okay, the money's going to keep coming in no matter what, even if you live to be 120.
Right.
But the trade-off there might be that the overall payouts could be a bit lower. Now, with systematic withdrawals, you've got more control over your money, but you do run the risk of, potentially outliving your savings if you're not careful with how you manage it.
So it's all about finding that balance, right, between like guaranteed income and then, how much control and flexibility you want.
Exactly.
Now, earlier you mentioned something about a nursing home and terminal illness waiver. And this seems especially important, as we think about getting older and the realities of aging. So can you just walk us through what that waiver is all about? Like, what does it actually cover and what kind of situations would qualify for it?
Sure. So this provision, it's basically like a safety net, right? Because life happens. And if you find yourself in a situation where you need to go into a nursing home, or God forbid, you get diagnosed with the terminal illness, this waiver, it lets you take withdrawals without any penalties, even if it's before that maturity date.
Okay.
Now, it's important to remember that the contract, it will have specific definitions of these situations, like how long do you have to be in a nursing home to qualify, or what kind of prognosis for a terminal illness, triggers the waiver.
Right. So it's good to know those details up front.
Absolutely.
So you can plan accordingly. Okay, speaking of planning and thinking ahead, we got to talk about what happens, after we're gone. And with this annuity, there's a death benefit.
Yeah.
So that's there to make sure your loved ones are taken care of, right?
Yeah, that's right. If you pass away and the policy hasn't been annuitized, your beneficiaries, they're going to receive the full contract value.
Okay.
And it's not just about what's written in the contract.
Right.
You also got to consider the financial strength and the stability of the company behind the annuity, right? Because that matters.
For sure. And in this case, that company is Lincoln Financial. Now, I know they've got a really good reputation in the industry, but just for those who might not be familiar, can you give us a bit more background on Lincoln Financial? Like, what makes them a solid choice for, something as important as retirement savings?
Yeah, absolutely. Lincoln Financial, they've been around for a long time. Over a century, actually. And they've got this really strong track record of financial stability. They consistently get those high ratings from independent agencies like AM Best, Moody's, and that basically means they're really good at meeting their financial obligations.
Right.
They're also considered a leader in the annuity market.
Yeah.
And they've got this really strong commitment to customer service. So you put all those things together, it really provides that extra layer of confidence for investors. You feel good about putting your money with them.
All right, folks, so there you have it. That's the Lincoln MYGuarantee Plus fixed annuity inside and out. Now, think about this. Knowing all this, how does this annuity fit into your own vision for a secure retirement? What questions does this spark for you for your own personal financial planning? And remember, this is just a starting point, okay? It's always best to do your own research, talk to a financial advisor, get personalized advice. Someone who knows your unique situation and goals.